All right, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025. I'm sorry, I'm a little casual today. I'm not meeting any clients today, so I'm just in my office doing some work. Thought I'd crank out a little video. We had lots of news over the weekend. Honestly, trying to just pick what I had to do for this video was a little bit of a challenge. But first off, I want to say welcome to all the new subscribers. Thank you so much. And loving all the comments people are leaving. I've responded to several of them over the weekend. I'm sorry, there were more comments than I could respond to, but for all of you who are watching now, please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. But either way, on to today's video. Okay, first off, Trump lashed out at Walmart over the weekend, saying that they needed to eat the tariffs. This is good news as far as I'm concerned because for the first time, Trump is publicly admitting that American importers are the ones who pay tariffs. So this is companies like uh, Target, Walmart, a company like Lowe's or Home Depot, or any other kind of big retailer who's going to import a lot of stuff. Certainly, American manufacturers import all kinds of things, American refineries, that they are in fact paying the tariffs, which means over time these costs will be pushed on to customers. If you looked at the most recent data from the Treasury statement, excuse me, tariff revenue has more than doubled, which means around another $8 to $10 billion per month of costs being paid by American importers, which means that us, the American consumer, will have to make those up over time. As of this morning, the White House press secretary Levitt is saying, "Oh no, 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 no! Walmart's not going to pay those tariffs. Um, China's going to pay those tariffs." Yesterday, Bessent was on TV saying, "Well, I talked to Walmart and they've agreed to eat some of the tariffs." So Trump is saying that Walmart's got to pay the tariffs. Bessent's saying they've got to pay some of the tariffs. And then as of this morning, now Levitt is saying, "Oh, no, no, China's going to pay the tariffs." To be clear, a tariff is paid by the business or individual who imports the product. So if I am running Dimry's, wonderful world of widgets, and I import widgets, I, as the importer, have to pay for the tariff on the widgets. Okay, so that's point one. Point two from this weekend's news is Moody's. The credit rating agency has downgraded U.S. debt. It is still very highly rated debt, an overall very safe debt, but it has not got the highest rating that it used to. You might think, well, what does this matter? The reason that this matters is because this affects the borrowing costs for the United States government. This downgrade means that the United States government has to pay more to bondholders in order to get them to buy more bonds. There's a couple reasons this happened. One is the dysfunction in Congress with the GOP bill, the one big beautiful bill, which failed in a committee vote on Friday. The committee reconvened last night, and four of the people who voted no just voted present, and the bill passed. Moody's was sending a very serious message to the Republicans in Congress that you guys need to get your act together, or bond costs are going to bankrupt this government quickly. The other reason that Moody's cited is the enormous size of the United States debt, which is currently honing in on 37 trillion. We're running about 2 trillion a year of new debt, 2 trillion a year deficit, meaning we're increasing our debt by about 2 trillion per year. We're already at 37 trillion. The new Trump budget that is moving its way through the House right now is going to make the deficits even bigger and grow our debt even faster, which means the United States government will have to sell even more bonds, which means they're going to have to push to more and more marginal bond buyers, which means higher and higher yields. In other words, if you have more stuff and you want someone to buy more of your stuff, you have to give them a better deal so that they do it. The United States needs to sell more bonds, so to get more bond buyers to buy more of our bonds, they're going to have to offer them higher yields, which is going to cost us, the taxpayers, more money to pay to service that debt. As of right before I started this video, it's about 11:05 a.m. I checked, the 10-year Treasury yield note is up about 6 basis points this morning. Now you might think, okay, 6 basis points, who cares? What difference does that make? It makes difference to you in two ways. This is how it affects you. The first way it affects you is that the United States borrowing about $2 trillion per year. 1 basis point move is going to cost us about $200 million in additional interest costs. A 6 basis point move if it was spread out evenly over the course of a year will cost about 1.2 billion. That's just on the 2 trillion in deficit. We also retire several trillion of debt per year and then replace it with several trillion of new debt. This is part of the debt. This is the debt versus deficit. So we're probably going to do 8 trillion, something like that this year. So if you're figuring it's 1.2 billion per trillion times 8. There's another 10 billion in costs, probably 11 to 12 billion. Now, obviously, the bond yields change day to day, hour to hour. So the way I've described the math is not how it works in reality, um, because the numbers change constantly. You'd have to use a weighted average, which would take forever to go through. But to give you an idea, a 6 basis point move, if it were spread out evenly throughout the year, it just cost the government over $10 billion. So yes, that's the first way it matters. Second way it matters is that a lot of the interest rates that we as consumers pay, mortgage rates, car loan rates, business loan, credit card rates, things like that, are tied to things like the 10-year Treasury and the 30-year Treasury notes. 30-year Treasuries, by the way, up over 5%. So what this means is higher mortgage rates, higher credit card rates, higher car loan rates, higher business loan rates. So we as consumers will now pay more interest if we want to borrow money. Okay, moving on. Next point. Trade deals. Deals. Trump's, we got so many deals. They're coming, just deals coming out of everywhere. According to the Wall Street Journal, they've been speaking to people inside the administration. The administration is saying, we do not have the manpower to negotiate this many deals. I would suggest that perhaps the Trump administration should have thought of that before they declared trade war on the entire world simultaneously. But nonetheless, here we are. I would also suggest that perhaps Doge should have thought of that before they started firing everybody they possibly could from the State Department and the Commerce Department, that if the idea was we were going to conduct dozens of bilateral trade deals or trade deal negotiations simultaneously, that we were going to need an enormous amount of manpower for that, and perhaps firing everybody you possibly could was not a great idea. So, it would appear that we have a serious manpower issue, and what Bessent said over the weekend is the United States is just going to mail letters to all the countries saying we are putting you back at your April 2nd Liberation Day tariff rates unless you negotiate with us in good faith, but at the same time, we don't have the manpower to negotiate with you. If that sounds like a catch-22 to you, it does to me as well. The other thing to point out is, so far, to the extent that deals have been getting done, the minerals deal, the US-UK trade deal, which I did a video on, the China negotiations, all of those have been done by Bessent. Bessent is the only one in the administration so far who has successfully struck any kind of agreement with foreign countries. So apparently there is one man who can do this, and now we are supposed to do trade deals with over 90 countries, and we've got one guy who's got to do it all. So good luck, Trump administration, on that. My guess is what you're going to see is a lot of now this is an opinion, this is not a fact, this is an estimate on my part, is that the Trump administration is just going to roll back a bunch of tariffs and declare that those are deals. They won't be, there won't actually be a trade deal, but if you're going to fight a trade war with the entire world at once, you need a big army of negotiators, and Elon fired everybody. We're in trouble. Okay, next one, Mike Pence. Mike Pence was out on one of the Sunday talk shows, and he was saying that he had told Trump that the tariffs in his first administration were taxes paid by Americans, but that the person who was talking to them said, well, then why didn't you say that at the time? He said, well, I told them privately, but I've got to follow the president's instructions, and so I went out publicly and said something else. And I said, unless I have some higher calling, then I don't have to, then, my job is to, obey the president. I'm like, well, does telling the truth not a higher calling? He was not silent on the issue. He said, these are going to be paid by foreign countries when he knew that they were not. So I would suggest that perhaps for all American politicians, regardless of party, you should consider is telling the truth a higher calling. And last point I want to make, lots of information coming out about Biden's mental decline during his administration. If you watch him during the 2020 primary debate, you can see his mental decline is clear as day. He was failing to answer questions in interviews. He did very few interviews. He was barely able to walk around. In 2021 and 2022, there were signs everywhere of his decline. His cancer diagnosis has come out. I certainly wish him all the best on that. But if it is stage 4 and is metastasized to the bone, that takes years. That means he has had this cancer diagnosis for a while. You may remember in 2022, he said during some sort of speech, he goes, that's why me and everyone I grew up with, we all have damn cancer right now. So I will tell you, I'm of the opinion, in light of that, it would have taken years for the cancer to get this far, given the quality of medical care that a president gets, and given that Biden said he had cancer in 2022, that this has been known since at least 2022, and Biden and his administration lied constantly about that, as well as his mental decline. So I will again suggest to both my Republican and Democrat friends, if you're upset about politicians lying from the other party, maybe we should start by demanding that the politicians of our own party tell us, their voters, the truth. Because we have Pence out admitting he was lying during Trump's administration, and there can be no doubt that the Biden administration was lying, and remember Mark Milley, I never saw any signs of Biden's mental decline. That's a lie. Elizabeth Warren recently said, just on a podcast in the last couple of weeks, I never saw any signs of it before the debate. That's a lie. Elizabeth Warren's a genius. She's a brilliant woman. Of course she saw the signs. The White House physician said there are no problems with Biden. He's totally healthy. No, he wasn't. He had cancer and he's in mental decline. And obviously we know Trump lies just constantly. So my point here, though, is if you're a Democrat, you're going to be mad at the Republicans. If you're a Republican, you're going to be mad at the Democrats. What I would suggest is we need to start with our own parties and saying, our own parties are lying to us. If you're a Democrat, you were lied to by the Democrats. If you're a Republican, you're being lied to by the Republicans. By the way, I'm a Republican, for those who wonder. So either way, I'll stop there. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you for listening. I'm sorry if this one was a little more opinion heavy than some of my other videos. I'm sorry it's run long. But again, thank you for watching, and please hit that subscribe button. And if you didn't like the video, thank you for watching anyway. I appreciate it. All right, everyone go have a great day. Bye-bye.